Welcome to our podcast conversation on applying timeless wisdom on our modern living.
Let's welcome our hosts, Tiffany and Johnny.
Ever feel like you're caught in a whirlwind? Our world is, well, it feels like it's obsessed with speed, like cramming more into every single minute.
Yeah.
But what about inner strength?
Right.
That sense of calm in all the chaos. And that's where I think this ancient philosophy of Stoicism comes in. And you specifically requested a deep dive into this YouTube series that promises to make it relevant to your life.
Yeah, and it's not even just the philosophy itself that's so fascinating here. It's how this series, it's called How to Uplift Your Mental Strength and Wellness with Stoicism, how they actually tackle it.
Yeah.
They're using all these bite-sized videos, storytelling, different voices. Like it's Stoicism repackaged for how we learn today.
Exactly. We're not talking like dusty old scrolls here.
No.
This is from the Inspiring Minds with Wisdom channel. And it's clearly designed for people like you, people who want practical takeaways, not just theoretical lectures.
And that's crucial because, like, as your notes mentioned, you're looking for ways to build resilience in this fast-paced digital world. This series seems tailor-made for that.
So let's jump right in with Video S0, How to Uplift Mental Strength Overview of Learning series.
Okay.
I have to admit, just the title alone makes me want to sit up a little straighter.
Right.
It promises a crash course on famous Stoics like Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
But like in a way that respects our time.
Of course, yeah.
Have you ever noticed how Stoicism seems to be having a real moment lately?
Yeah, it's absolutely experiencing a resurgence. And part of it is this desire for control, in a world that often feels very much out of control. And Stoicism kind of reminds us that while we can't control those external events, we can control our reactions to them.
Right.
And that's incredibly empowering, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. In fact, that leads perfectly into Video S1, where the series dives into these two principles. Focus on what you can control and practice virtue, not just thinking about being good, but actually being good.
Right. And that's where we see the true genius of Stoicism, I think. It's not just this passive philosophy, it's a call to action. One of the quotes from this video really stood out to me. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius.
Wow, that's the kind of quote you need to like write down and stick on your bathroom mirror. It's a potent reminder that so much of our stress comes from how we interpret situations, not even the situations themselves.
Exactly. And once we understand that, then we can start to shift our perspective. And that's actually a key theme in Video S2. Distinguish between opinion and reality, along with accept fate, amor fati.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed how easily we get caught up in our opinions, mistaking them for facts?
Oh, all the time. Especially in the age of social media where everyone has an opinion on everything.
Right.
It's like we're bombarded with interpretations rather than just observing what is.
It's exhausting. And the Stoics, they recognized this tendency centuries ago.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful concepts I think they offered was this idea of amor fati, which essentially means to love one's fate, even the difficult parts.
Okay, now that's a challenge. Loving your fate when life throws you a curveball. How did the Stoics suggest we actually do that?
Well, it goes back to what we were just discussing about controlling our reactions. We can't always choose what happens to us, but we can choose how we respond. It's about finding that inner strength to face challenges with resilience and grace.
That makes me think of the quote from Seneca. Sometimes even to live is an act of courage. It's not about being fearless, but about finding the strength to keep going, even when things are tough.
Exactly. And that's where cultivating emotional resilience becomes essential, which is the focus of Video S3. It's about learning to navigate our emotions, not denying them or suppressing them, but mastering them so they don't control us.
Now, mastering your emotions, that sounds like something we could all use a little help with. Tell me more about how this video tackles that, and how does living according to nature, which is the other principle explored in Video S3, how does that fit into all of this?
So often, our emotions feel chaotic because our lives are chaotic. The Stoics, they looked to nature for guidance. They saw in it this model of balance and order. Living according to nature isn't just about taking a hike in the woods, although that's never a bad idea. It's about aligning our lives with the natural rhythms and principles of the universe.
I love that. It's almost like they're saying, instead of constantly battling against the current, let's learn to flow with it a bit more. But how do we actually bring that sense of natural order into our busy, often chaotic lives? Any practical tips from the series on that?
They actually give some really concrete examples. Like they talk about decluttering your surroundings,
Yeah.
simplifying your schedule, and prioritizing meaningful relationships over superficial ones.
Right.
It's about stripping away all that excess
Yeah.
to reconnect with what truly matters.
That really resonates with me. I recently did a digital detox, stepped away from social media for a bit, and I was amazed at how much calmer and more focused I felt.
Exactly. It's like hitting the reset button on your nervous system. And it ties in beautifully with two practices that Video S4 encourages. Practice mindfulness and self-reflection, and memento mori, remember death.
Okay, memento mori. That one always throws me off a bit.
Yeah.
Not exactly the most uplifting thought, is it?
Right.
Reminding ourselves about death.
It sounds morbid, I know. But the Stoics weren't afraid to confront death.
Right.
In fact, they saw it as a powerful tool for living a more meaningful life. When we remember our time is finite,
Yeah.
it shifts our perspective. We stop sweating the small stuff and start focusing on what truly matters. Our values, our relationships, the legacy we want to leave behind.
That's a really interesting way to frame it. So it's not about dwelling on death, but using it as a motivator to live more intentionally.
Precisely. And that's where practice mindfulness and self-reflection comes in.
Okay.
It's about being fully present in each moment
Yeah.
and taking the time to examine our thoughts and actions without judgment. The Stoics believed that by cultivating self-awareness, we gain greater control over our emotions and make choices that are aligned with our values.
So it's like checking in with ourselves regularly to make sure we're on track, course correcting when needed. I can see how that would be incredibly valuable in our fast-paced world, We're so often on autopilot, just reacting to things without really thinking about why.
Exactly. It's about becoming more conscious creators of our lives rather than these passive passengers. And while Stoicism really emphasizes personal responsibility, it also acknowledges the importance of connection and community, which brings us to Video S5. Be part of a community and find happiness through inner peace.
That's an interesting juxtaposition. On the one hand, we're all being encouraged to cultivate inner peace, which sounds very individual. But then there's this emphasis on community. How do those two ideas work together?
The Stoics understood that we're social creatures. We thrive when we have a sense of belonging, when we're part of something larger than ourselves. But true happiness, they argued, can't be found solely in external factors like relationships or achievements. It has to come from within.
So it's about finding that balance, right? Nurturing our connections with others, but also cultivating a sense of inner peace that isn't dependent on external circumstances.
Exactly. And it goes back to that idea of focusing on what we can control. We can't control how others behave, but we can control our own reactions and choose to approach relationships with compassion and understanding.
It sounds like a recipe for more fulfilling relationships, both with ourselves and with others.
Precisely. And when we find that inner peace, we're less likely to be thrown off balance by the inevitable challenges that life throws our way.
So by the end of this series, it sounds like we're not just learning about Stoicism as a philosophy, but also gaining practical tools for living a more resilient, purposeful, and yes, even happier life.
Absolutely. It's about equipping ourselves with the wisdom to navigate the complexities of modern life with greater clarity, courage, and connection. And what's so remarkable is that these principles, though rooted in ancient wisdom, are just as relevant and applicable today as they were centuries ago.
Speaking of relevant, you mentioned earlier that Stoicism seems to be experiencing a resurgence in popularity. Why do you think that is? What is it about this ancient philosophy that resonates so deeply with people in the 21st century?
I think part of it is that we're craving a sense of grounding in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain. And Stoicism offers a framework for navigating difficulty with grace and resilience, for finding strength and purpose from within. It reminds us that true happiness isn't about chasing external validation or material possessions, but about aligning our thoughts and actions with our values. And that's a message that feels incredibly timely and necessary in our current cultural climate.
Absolutely. And this YouTube series seems to have captured that essence beautifully, making it accessible and engaging for a modern audience. It's like they've taken the wisdom of the Stoics and distilled it into a potent elixir for the modern soul, wouldn't you say? It really does. It's not just about understanding these principles, it's about integrating them into our daily lives.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder what will resonate most with you. You listening right now.
Yeah, maybe it'll be that idea of focusing on what you can control We hear it so often, but Stoicism actually gives you that framework for doing it. Or maybe it's, that concept of amor fati,
Yeah.
learning to embrace whatever life throws your way.
Right.
Not with resignation, but with a sort of courageous acceptance.
Yeah, I'm particularly drawn to the emphasis on virtue,
Mm-hmm.
not just in words, but in action. It's a good reminder to ask myself, am I being the kind of person I want to be?
Right.
Not just talking about it.
It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget about those bigger questions.
Totally.
But that's the beauty of this deep dive we're doing, right? We're not just summarizing a YouTube series.
Right.
We're kind of unearthing these timeless ideas with you,
Yeah.
making them relevant to your life, your challenges.
Exactly. And what's so exciting is that this is just the beginning. We've given you a taste, but there's so much more to explore in these videos.
Think of it like we've given you a map and a compass,
Sure.
right?
Okay.
Now it's up to you to go on the adventure.
Yeah.
See where these Stoic principles lead you.
And who knows, maybe you'll discover that a philosophy from, like, ancient Rome
Yeah.
holds the keys to unlocking a more resilient, fulfilling life
Mm-hmm.
in our modern world.
Mm-hmm.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
We hope you enjoy this podcast and find this useful. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.